Hello, my name is Craig Power from Power Realty Advisors, and today's video is about moving into your Boston apartment on September 1st, a notoriously crazy day in the Boston rental market. I'm joined today by a local expert in rentals. She's a skillful real estate agent who's helped countless people rent apartments over the years. Meaghan Barker from Inbound Real Estate. How are you, Meaghan?
Hello, Craig. I'm good. Things are a little chaotic right now, but I'm hanging in there.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining me, and I appreciate you doing this video with me. You definitely have a lot of valuable insight. We've fought some September 1st battles together on the same team before.
Yes.
Um, and as somebody who does a high volume of rentals that begin September 1st, do you go into that day like stressed out or excited or relieved, or what are your emotions right now?
I guess it's probably a mix of all of those. Our preparation starts, well before the day of September 1st. So if you have prepared for everything that you can, then I guess it's more of like your adrenaline's going on the morning of September 1st, but there's a sense of relief that it's going to be over soon enough.
Yeah, I strongly agree with that sentiment. Personally, I usually go in super stressed, like the
Mhm.
morning of, and then I'll eventually have a moment of clarity where it all goes away and the move-ins have gone smoothly. I've done my
Mhm.
job as well as I could, and I've said all the right things. And until that moment, yeah, I'm super stressed. You know what I mean? Until that, yeah, I'm a mess. I'm not good at managing just kind of the ups and downs of this business, as you might well know.
It's tough because you want it to go perfect. You want to make everybody happy, especially dealing with students' parents. Sometimes they're moving their child into their first apartment. Like you want them to be happy about it, but
Yeah,
you can only do so much.
exactly. Yeah. So, and we can jump right into it. My first question for you is this: why is 9/1? Why is September 1st considered such a crazy day in the Boston rental market?
Yeah, so it's really crazy because all of the leases are on the same September 1st schedule. So, well, I guess I shouldn't say all, but a vast majority. So we're basically moving all of our clients in at the exact same time, it's really hectic to get walkthroughs done, make sure the apartment looks okay, or get cleaners in there if there's an emergency, while also coordinating pickup and drop off of keys. It's just everything is happening at one time. So it's a very chaotic because you want to try to be in touch with everyone and have everything under control, but it's to be expected that some things will go wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And this is my own informal metric. I don't have real stats or census numbers to back this up, but I would ballpark that 70% of the Boston apartments that will turn over all year will do so on September 1st. So,
Mhm.
70% of the move-ins that happen all year happen on that day. Not to mention
I would
many,
agree with
yeah,
that.
and many of those move-ins, and like the hard part is many of those move-ins are people that are moving out of their other Boston apartment on August 31st. And I've always been under the belief, kind of like what you said, those September 1st leases are driven by the college market, the student rental market. They line up with the school year. People move in a few days before the start of classes. Um, that definitely seems to be the idea. The student rental market in particular is worth talking about for anybody who doesn't really know much about it. Like for you, how far in advance do these apartments get rented in your experience?
So I think this year will probably be a little different, but
Yeah.
historically, some of them start coming on the market in November, December of the previous calendar year. I do most of my deals, I want to say probably January, February. That's a really popular time for students to look. So you're looking almost a whole year in advance. It's pretty crazy.
That it is crazy, right? It is crazy. Have you ever had conversations with people like explaining this and they're shocked at how early people go
Yeah,
through this? Like,
especially if you're not from the area, there's no way to expect that because it's so insane.
yeah,
And from the renter's perspective, it's like you have just finally moved in, you've just settled in, it's just starting to feel like home, and then you already have to decide whether or not you want to stay for a whole other year.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the
So.
renewals. No, you're absolutely right. And so if you're listening, think about that. Student rentals around, the BU market in particular, which we both worked in. The apartments getting rented, 8, 9 months in advance, sometimes even further, right? We'll have groups that get ahead of the competition in early to mid-November and will literally secure an apartment before Thanksgiving. They won't be moving into that apartment until September 1st the following year. That's
Mhm.
ridiculous demand. Around BU and Alston, it's a whole off-campus rental economy. It's crazy. Um, and
Yeah, its own little world.
yeah, so you do a lot of BU student rentals, I know. And what other schools in the area have undergraduate or graduate students that rent with you?
Yeah, so I've actually worked a lot with some Berkeley and Emerson students.
Mhm.
Um, our like the area where we're kind of focused on is really accessible to the T. So any student that is looking to maybe take the Green Line into campus, you could easily just hop on the T from a lot of our apartments in like the Allston, Brighton, Brookline area. I know Northeastern's also nearby. I haven't worked with a ton of Northeastern students, but um, yeah, I'd say Emerson and Berkeley are another big student group that I've had experience with aside from BU.
Yeah, yeah. And what the average person might not know is students are the only unprotected class when it comes to fair housing. So a landlord obviously can't say, hey, no people of this race, no people of this gender, this age, but they actually can say no to students. So naturally,
Yeah.
the student friendly buildings become all students, kind of like
Yes.
how if there was only one pet friendly building in your neighborhood, every unit would have a dog in it, type of thing.
Exactly. Yep.
And so yeah, it's pretty unique. And not only is the BU market in high demand, I mean BC is just as crazy. There's apartments over there that actually get rented over a year in advance. Some of them, I think it's a smaller supply. I'm not as familiar with the market, but and it's not just students moving in on September 1st, right? It's everyone.
Right. So students do rent far in advance, but then we kind of have a young professional market around like the springtime, late spring, summer, and leases that start, I would say, like June, July, August, are definitely still less common among young professionals. Even that crowd is also moving in on September 1st. So it's everybody at the same time.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And so September 1st is always a tough day for, real estate agents like us, landlords, property managers, et cetera, et cetera. Why is it a problem for them, like, like I said, people like us, when we've had so much time to prepare? Why is it a problem for us when we've had so much time to prepare? It's probably the best way to phrase it.
Yeah, so I think it probably comes down to the volume because again, everything's happening at one time. Physically, everybody is coming into the city on the same day in the same like time frame, the same few hours. Everyone's trying to get in at the same time. People are also trying to get out. People are trying to move around. It's just physically hard to drive around and
Yeah.
move. It's hard to be in 10 places at one time. Sometimes you have clients that everyone's ready to pick up the key at 1 p.m. And then all of a sudden you have to go to this other apartment to let other clients in. And you just can't be in all the places at the same time. So it's just, I think just because of the volume, that's why it gets so crazy for us.
Totally, totally. It's a full on, it's a bandwidth issue. And all the turnover happens at the same time. Two of the things, and you basically mentioned both of these, I warn people about are parking and cleaning. Parking is never easy, especially North End and Fenway where I do rentals. Those are really tough areas for it. And then we can never guarantee the person who moved out last night took all their stuff and cleaned up to a certain standard. And so you'd be surprised all the like hustle and bustle that goes on, when we're backed up, the landlords are backed up, we're scrambling to inspect apartments, take photos, record problems, for security deposit purposes, order junk removal, order cleanings, cleaning stuff ourselves. It's a lot crammed into the window of a couple days. And on the issue of Boston traffic on September 1st, do you want to explain to our viewers what it means to get starrowed, like the annual
Oh,
Starrow Drive disaster, which I think already happened again the other day. I think there was actually a pretty recent one.
I think I saw that. I think
Yeah.
we already have one in the books for this year.
Oh, great. Good. Get it out of the way.
Yeah. So basically what that means is you have, for example, a U-Haul, something that has it's a tall vehicle, and people from either not from Boston or out of state, they don't research the route well enough before driving in. And the default way to usually get into at least like the Fenway area where I usually work, and Austin Brighton, is to take Storrow. But there's a lot of bridges that go over Storrow, and I think it's a 13-foot clearance, something like that. So the trucks literally just don't fit, and they drive into the bridge and don't clear it, and then they get stuck. They literally get stuck, and it's just a disaster. And so I think police have to escort them like backwards. They have to literally back up on Storrow, and then we have to maneuver the cars around it. The whole thing.
It's great. It's a local legend. It really is. It's a local legend, and it's our first pro tip is just to avoid Starrow Drive altogether. You know,
Just go
sort of
anywhere else. Don't take Storrow.
yeah, high risk, you know. Maybe if it's smooth, high reward, but I would just call it high risk route to get to, you know, that Alston, Brighton, Brookline area, wherever you're going.
I agree.
Yeah. And so, you know, we can get into our September 1st pro tips. I think this is important info for somebody who is moving into their first apartment or, you know, in Boston. What advice do you give people to make moving day run smoother? We kind of talked about like the parking and cleaning and stuff, but what advice do you give people to make moving day run a little bit smoother?
Yeah, so I just as a general rule of thumb tell clients to plan for the afternoon. The morning is always hectic regardless. Even if the previous tenants have moved out the day before, that doesn't mean that the apartment is clean and ready to go. So we are doing inspections the morning of and running around ourselves. So I always say just plan for the afternoon. Everyone wants to get in at 7 a.m. I know you want to be in there, but you just can't. Another pro tip I would say is a lot of people are concerned about parking, like where to, like say you're renting a U-Haul, you get it in here into the city, and then where are you going to put it? I'd recommend probably looking into a moving permit. I don't know if they always are effective, but you can at least put a little bit of signage out stating that you plan to park your truck here for X amount of hours on the morning of September 1st. I don't know if that's always enforceable, but it could help. So I think you can do it through mass.gov possibly, but it's through the city of Boston.
Smart, good call. Yeah, no, I'm with you on the afternoon thing, and you know, if you're moving that morning around 10 a.m., you're in the belly of the beast, you know. And honestly, one thing I've been telling people too is like, you know, especially in this sort of COVID mess we're dealing with, where by the way, some people are supposed to stay home for like a certain amount of time after September 1st for moving out of state. We'll ignore that, please. I can't get into that. But like, if you can avoid it altogether and move in September 2nd, you know, if you have that luxury, yeah, that's usually way better, you know. So we'll find a way to get you the keys and make it happen. But those are great pro tips. That's perfect. Yeah, the backup and manpower, and yeah, always tell people to plan on moving in the afternoon rather than first thing in the morning. And the parking permit is a great idea too. My other tip is to remember your paperwork, particularly the apartment condition statement. So if you gave a security deposit to the landlord at all, you should be given an apartment condition statement. I always feel like it serves two purposes rather than just the one, which is protecting you from being held liable for any defects left behind by the previous tenant. The other thing that I like about it, it's just a nice way of letting the landlord know of any existing problems. So if you have given a security deposit, you're moving into apartment September 1st, make sure you're getting an apartment condition statement, filling it out, keeping a copy, giving it to the landlord. Sometimes people give them to me too, like, give me a third copy. Sure, I'll take it. The more the merrier. But I think that's always a good little thing to remember.
No, I definitely agree with that. I think it's also a good tool to have the renter just like go through and look at everything. Because I know, at least from personal experience, I've moved in somewhere and then all of a sudden, a few days in, you just notice something and it's like, oh, was that there before?
Yeah.
You just sometimes you just glaze over things. So it's just a good tool to help you, just to like prompt you to go through everything.
Definitely, because really, who goes through and like starts testing the oven and like the gas right away? Like,
Exactly. That's what I was thinking of.
that's the thing. You never know, and even like stuff like water pressure. Who knows? So, but yeah, more about September 1st pro tips. Have you ever? I've been really looking forward to asking you this question. Have you ever found any memorable Alston Christmas presents? Because we work around
Okay.
Alston, Brighton, Brookline. There's a lot of turnover, which results in a lot of junk, a lot of trash. I think I've seen American pickers from National Geographic or whatever out there, finding antiques and valuables, filming a TV show. So there's all sorts of good stuff. Have you found anything memorable in your days as a rental agent?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's definitely not all junk. Sometimes people just move out and they have nowhere to put their things and they
Yep.
don't know what to do, so they just dump it on the sidewalk. I got last September 1st, I just got a little like decorative sign, like a little welcome sign. It's just a silly little blue sign that says hello on it, but I still have it. It's just a little thing that's on my wall. More recently, I think a lot of people, because of COVID, are moving out early. So for the past like 2, 3 weeks, I have actually found a few gems in the trash already.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, so actually the chair that I'm sitting in, I got by the trash cans. And they were in great shape. It matches my table, so it's perfect.
Oh, that's
A couple
awesome.
days ago, I brought in a little table for my porch, just as a round little glass top table that was in great shape, fits right on my porch. So, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there.
Yeah, there really is. There really is. I've found some gems over the years, and like when you mentioned that, I just remembered the wallet I used today was trash in an apartment last year. That was,
Nice.
and this thing rules. Fine, fine Italian leather. I don't know what kind of leather, but it's leather. But it's been great. And it's nice to have. There's all sorts of little stuff like that floating around. I think I found a
Yeah.
guitar amp, like basically in a
Oh,
in a
wow.
in a like unused box one year. Yeah, that was like, it was, I don't think the amp had been used and it was just in the trash. I was like, I will take that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now that we're talking about this, I think a coworker got a TV, like
Yeah.
a
Oh, yeah.
fully functioning large TV that they
Yeah.
just could mount on the wall.
Yeah. I'm thinking about keeping an eye out for another TV this year. So I'll be out there. I'll be out there for sure. Always got to recognize the opportunity there. No, that's great. So keep an eye out. Alston Christmas, lots of good stuff. And do you have any 9/1, any September 1st horror stories or success stories you can share with us?
Um, I do have one. I probably a horror story. I guess it could have been worse, but I had been coordinating with obviously the landlord, trying to figure out timing when we can get the tenants in. And the previous tenants left the apartment in okay condition. The apartment itself needed a fresh coat of paint. It was normal wear and tear. They took all of their junk out. They could have probably swept and wiped things down a little bit better, but no big deal. But so I went to do my walk through inspection on the night of the 31st, and I actually met the landlord in there, and he was in there himself, cleaning everything, scrubbing everything. So I thought, oh, this is great. It's going to be good to go tomorrow morning. Smooth sailing. And then he told me I can give the tenants the keys at 10 a.m. and they're welcome to start moving in then. So we did that. And then the tenants got inside the apartment and were just so upset because they had planned to be there for 10 a.m., couldn't move in yet. The landlord was still painting.
Ah,
That was tough because they obviously couldn't move in while there was still painting going on. It's that was hard to talk through.
yeah,
It's hard to be the bearer of bad news and be the middleman. But all we can do is just work with the information that we have.
yeah, yeah. And sometimes we're just not going to get the information,
No.
unfortunately. That's unfortunately how it goes. We deal with an occasionally eccentric group of people
Yes.
that we're working for, and most are great, but of course, there's always some interesting cases out there. Um, and yeah, one thing that I'll mention, I think it was my first September 1st, so this was years ago now. I had it was actually we had a 3-bedroom apartment turning over at the lovely 452 Park Drive condominium. I'll
Oh,
give
very
the
nice.
address, right? So, great place, great apartment, all that stuff. And then walking in there the morning of September 1st, only to find it full of furniture, full of just a mess. I mean, these guys had basically up and left and weren't taking anything with them.
Oh
We were
no.
calling them, asking them to get, ultimately, like, these people were moving in 2.5 hours when we got there. We
Yeah, what did you
scrambled.
do?
We basically were throwing furniture out the window down toward the trash can and organizing it, when we got back down. It was terrible. So, and I think, and he'll never listen to this, Evan, who used to work at Inbound Real Estate, actually, who jumped in and helped me out. And we were,
Nice.
yeah, scrambled to find cleaners, and I cannot tell you, the walking in there and realizing what we were staring down was terrible. But honestly, we made it work. I think it took a few extra hours, but it was, beautifully cleaned, and it was ready to go by like 3 p.m. I think it was. But yeah,
Hey, that's not bad.
it's really not bad if you saw how much furniture was in there. And yeah, it was terrible. Even like the balcony was just loaded with junk. It was terrible. It was like an intentional screw job, you would think. So that scarred me. And because it was my first September 1st, I go in over prepared every year. So I think we all have those little stories. And that's just a little taste of what it is to be a real estate agent in the Boston area on September 1st. You don't totally know, no matter how many times you call people or how many times touch base with the landlord to make sure things are running smooth. You might not get all the information. You might not find out really what you're up against until the morning of the first. And that is the tough thing about renting in Boston. But I would assume that, if people like us do our job as well as we think we do, you're in good hands no matter what, and we will find a resolution. We will find a solution to the problem. So that is why you should, care about who you work with. I guess it would be the moral of the story, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. If you have a friend that has rented through a real estate agent and they have a great relationship with them and they trust them, definitely go with somebody that because a lot of us do care about our clients and we want everything to go smoothly. We want things to work out for everyone.
Yeah, and despite the reputation of the Boston rental market, which is much like New York's, right, where it's just the reputation of the real estate agent that focuses in rentals is just, we show up, turn the lights on, and we expect to be paid like a full month's rent for opening the door. I promise you that's not the case for all of us.
There's
There's
a
a little
lot more
bit,
that goes on behind the scenes
yeah,
that you don't see.
exactly. And I know the cool thing about, being a real estate agent, there's no one way to do the job, right? It's sort of, you take your own approach and your own personality. I would say ours was always kind of similar, right, Meaghan? I would like to think that as far as rental agents go, we're a little bit more customer service oriented. I think that, would that be fair to say?
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah, not to just sit here and compliment, you and myself and all that, but that's how I view it. That's how I view
We're
it.
the
I think,
best.
well,
No.
listen, that's what it is. I think that's the new business model in rentals. You know what I mean? It's been so kind of lopsided for so long. Renters don't have any leverage because there's just a finite amount of apartments. And so I think it's changing a little bit. I think COVID has accelerated that as well. So
For
it's a
sure. The tables have turned this year.
yeah, they really have. They really have. And I'm sure we'll be looking back at this and being like, wow, that was a really crazy time in the rental market when things finally stabilize, which who knows when that is. Um, but yeah, no, that's great. And I did want to get into our social distancing recommendations. I'm ending any of our videos with a quick recommendation for a book, movie, TV show. The idea is, could be business or money related, could be just for fun. So if you have anything to recommend to the social distancers out there, Meaghan, go for it.
Yeah, no, I actually, so on a business related note, I actually started reading this book. I've been trying to get more into reading and not just like binge watching on my couch all the time. So I started this book. It's called The 7 Levels of Communication. And let's see it. I haven't gotten all the way through it yet, but I love it so far. It's a really easy read. It's anecdotal, so you kind of just breeze through it. And it's all really just about connecting with people, making personal relationships. So
That's
I
cool.
really liked that because I also feel like that's sort of the approach that I've been going for anyways. So it's nice to kind of just get more of that information and see how I can more delve like towards that direction for a business approach.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, the reason I started doing any of these videos in the first place was just the complete absence of like meeting people in person, and you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
I definitely that's a cool idea. I'm gonna look into that book for sure. I just wrapped up a book, and that will be my recommendation. I had it on Kindle, so this is the cover, but it's called the. I mean, it sounds like a bleak title. It's kind of relevant these days, though. The Death of Expertise is unfortunately the name for it, but it's really about how everybody thinks they're a doctor or a lawyer and doesn't listen to doctors or lawyers or teachers anymore. It's just all about like, everybody on Facebook, all your aunts and uncles think they're professionals and, the
Yeah.
experts in everything. And
They
it's
read
also
one article on it, so now they are the expert. They know
exactly.
everything about it.
And it's
Yeah.
also about like, you wouldn't want to get, listen, you want to get medical advice from a doctor, but you don't necessarily want to get political advice from a doctor. You wouldn't want to get legal advice from a doctor, that type of thing. That's the idea that they're going with as well. But of
Okay, I
course,
like that a lot.
yeah,
I think that's a very important message.
we're all exactly. So it's pretty in depth. And I don't know if it's the most fun topic in the world, but I really enjoyed it. It felt very, very relevant these days.
Yeah.
Um, but that's it. That's our podcast about moving into your Boston apartment on September 1st. Thanks for listening. You can contact Meaghan at Move with Meaghan on Instagram. Can you can you go over the details for that? I completely hammered the plug. I completely threw it
No,
away.
yeah, so I haven't been keeping up with it, but I do have an Instagram. You can follow me at Move with Meaghan. It's Meaghan. I'll try to get back on there, post some new materials. We have a lot of vacant apartments that we're trying to rent, and actually a lot of bedrooms that we're trying to rent. So I'll try to get some fresh listings on that for you.
Awesome. Yeah, at Move with Meaghan. And I hope somewhere out there this video helps someone when they're facing the September 1st madness for the first time. Maybe you're moving from far away, or maybe you're a parent of a student renter in the area. Of course, if you have any questions, you can always reach out. You have Meaghan's info, and then my email is craig@powerrealtyboston.com. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Meaghan.
Thanks for having me, Craig.
See you later.
Bye.